not.
Yes. Yes.
Now we.
Yeah.
Okay. So the starting question for us today is, what do you see?
When this is Satya. When I heard the question, what do you see? I was wondering whether see was only with the eyes, or what do you see as in?
So when we ask the question, what do you see? One is you can read the question as in what is your visual experience? What is that your eyes are seeing?
Right.
But if you look at the question in another way, you can think, but that which I am seeing, whichever way, my skin is seeing things, I'm listening to things, all of this,
Yeah.
that which I'm experiencing, what is it? So, if I ask the question, whom do you see? It would be very clear that I'm asking who you see, who is that?
Right.
So what you see, what is that?
Right.
And
But does not pertain only to visual?
Hmm?
That does not pertain only to the visual.
Yeah, so we're not worried about how we are seeing things.
Okay.
We just care about that which we see, in whichever way. So basically, see is a word here for experience. It's not see for sight.
Right.
Right.
So that which you see, what is it? Sam, you got it? Sam is here with us? No? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah,
Wait,
right.
give me a second. Give me a second.
It's kind of like putting a person on the spot, really. What is what?
So, so basically when you start thinking of what,
Right.
you think, how do I describe this, right? So you have something in front of you,
Yeah.
and you're thinking, how do I describe this?
Right.
So, and at that point, everything that we have constructed in this world,
Right.
it starts, right? So
Right.
either we think of words, or we think of pictures, or we think of something, civilization.
Yep.
And so what happens then? So with each of us, each of us, what is the way we respond to the question, what do you see?
Exactly. Some of us could become obsessed with the what and try to define what the what is first, because we need to find a coherent answer to it, because that's our need internally.
Okay,
Yeah.
what I feel is, I mean, we see something, but then for me to explain it to you, I have to use the words, so I kind of bring down, or abstract whatever I'm seeing into the common language that both of us could understand.
But so you choose words?
Yeah, I choose words. I mean, when you ask me what do I see, right? Like, let's say I say, oh, I see a laptop, but then this laptop is something that you should understand for you to get what I actually saw.
Yeah, but let's say you don't have the tool of words. Let's say
Okay.
you cannot spell.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So how would you describe what you say to me?
Yeah, without words, it's difficult. I mean, the other options are you could gesture or gesticulate, or you start singing probably, or you use symbols of some kind, you write perhaps, or I guess you are a black box. Whatever methods you have for expressing, which may not be words. And yet, if you have this image that's inside you that you're seeing, really, which for me, that's what is happening right now. I am seeing inside. I'm trying to see what you are talking about.
Yeah, and so if we stay with the question,
Okay.
Yeah.
And we don't try to find an answer,
Right.
right? So it's that vagueness, that amorphous something,
Yeah.
that we try to struggle with. That, I mean, we actually struggle with it at the time of perspective formation, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this and I don't know what I'm looking at, and I'm feeling lost, and in that feeling of feeling lost,
Yeah.
I make decisions.
Why does it have to be a feeling of feeling lost? Why can't it be a feeling of identification? Because even
Yeah.
if you don't have words, supposing the question is, what do you see? And you're referring to what you see from a situation, what you see from a particular happening in the world. There is an identification, or there may be a universal, a larger understanding amongst many individuals for that particular situation or circumstance. And the experience, or all of them experiencing it at the same time, may also uh, bring them together without a very spelled out communication.
That's a very good point. But the only thing that's coming to my mind is going back to perspective formation. Some of us might form our perspectives based on what we think others are seeing. There may be a barrier. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
even though we are all seeing blue, I might think that everyone around me is probably seeing green. Therefore, I should also see green. Therefore, I'll say that I've seen green.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I
So
guess perspectives, I'm sorry, I guess
no,
perspectives, various inputs.
actually, I think I interrupted you, but I was saying perspective is one level higher than experience, right?
Right.
So if you see something blue, but you say that it's green,
Yeah.
a lot of such observations, a lot of such misnamings will actually join together and form a perspective.
Right.
So, is it a strategy? Do you know what you want to represent when you form a perspective, or I mean, what is it? How does the perspective, actually get designed?
Right. And there could be various inputs into that, right? Like, I mean, if I am, it depends on a person's construction, perhaps.
Right.
Because if a person cares about certain, if a person has a certain value system, which is the framework that defines the vocalization of their perspective to themselves.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's a good point.
but after, how does it work in operation? So in the sense, uh, when I'm making a house and I'm the architect,
Yeah.
then I have the design in my hands.
Right.
So, I'm the one who knows how is it coming together.
Okay.
But in terms of a perspective, who knows? I mean, is it, the series of accidents, the spontaneity, how does it coordinate together to stitch the perspective?
Yeah, because the blueprint that you have actually maybe just what you think the blueprint is, but there are other unconscious things in the background which are also feeding into the blueprint, which you may not be aware of.
Right, and then if we are essentially coming back to, I was asking all of us to respond to the design of the perspective and how it comes together to essentially bring us back to the question, what do you see? Because at that point, like Satya said, that you can misname things, you can misidentify things. At that point, what guides the decision to do it, right? So is it a design that we are following, or it's play, it's just sports?
I don't think it's play. Because play would be a very conscious shuffling or controlling of things. And I think when you form a certain viewpoint, not all of it is entirely in your control because it comes from what you have acquired from a series of experiences over many, many years.
Right.
And I don't think you can ignore that.
So what do we do with that? I mean, let's say we don't ignore it.
No, I think that's what contributes to building that viewpoint.
Yeah, but we don't always have the benefit of hindsight, so
You don't have to have hindsight. I'm saying that it's like an involuntary, it's like our digestive system. It just works. You're not telling it to work every time. And
so it's
the
a
moment
complex,
the moment food goes in, it works. Sorry?
No, I mean, I'm just saying, so you're calling it a complex system.
It is.
But a complex system becomes complex over time, in each moment. It's simple.
I don't think so.
So
I would agree that.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, I would agree that it does get complex over time, but it was already complex from the beginning itself. Like there are things that the initial system was complex, but then there are more complexities and uncertainties and noise that gets added on to the existing complexity.
Yeah, but what is there initially, we have had time with, so we get used to things and the complex becomes simple because we start from it. So the idea of home is complex, but because we come from there, it's also simple.
Yeah, and we kind of also, because we are limited beings, we tend to make assumptions, and we tend to have certain formulae for living, for like how engineers make assumptions for creating models. We create models for living, perhaps, just to negotiate day to day. So in that sense, maybe it does get simplified, and we get used to things.
Yeah, so because we get used to things, where we start from is always simple.
I could see that, yeah. Yeah. And the deepen.
Yes, things deepen over time, and that is basically leaning on continuity, on narrative. So if one thing is connected to the other, then you can make a connection that it deepened.
Yeah, but how do you define simplicity and complexity? Like, are you like, what are the metrics? The number of variables or what?
No, so what I can feel at one time is simple.
Okay.
What takes me a sequence of feelings to feel is complex, right? So a novel is not simple because I can't feel the whole book at one go.
Mhm.
It's page after page. It's, you know, it builds up.
But so you're saying anything that's time consuming is complex,
Anything that that aggregates layers of time, right?
or layers of time. Okay.
Yeah. So
But
anything
what
which is not
happens during
immediately
those?
apparent to me.
Okay, but what happens when those layers are being added up? You know, are you changing, or the layers that the time that's forming is changing?
So the image is changing, right? So what I
Okay.
see, what I experience is changing because each layer gives it a new dimension.
Correct, correct.
But do you
And
think
then-
that each moment does not have layers within it already? Because why you've simplified it to the point where you said that time becomes the defining factor for calling something simple, and when there are layers of time and it becomes complex, but you can't quite uh, you know evaluate time like that either, because even a moment
Yeah,
has a lot within it that
that's
can be
very true.
complex.
Just today I saw an article on BBC about a person who had a stroke, and the moment he had a stroke, he was actually in the shower and he actually saw all the water droplets freeze. So it was as though
Wow.
that, so that moment of time got frozen in his mind,
Huh.
and then like you exactly said, Malvika, that every moment has details in it, which, like, every frames per second for the eye, for example, we are forming an
Yeah.
image but really much quicker per second, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
every moment is also complex.
Right. So
But
I mean, it's like you're saying that it's like trauma, that, you know, so something happens to you and you can never forget it.
It's not necessarily sorry,
No, I
like
mean
trauma
that
where you
person
can't forget it.
No, I mean that person that Satya talked about, for whom the moment froze.
Huh. No, that
That's
has
like not being
the
able to forget it.
probably
no
not. I mean,
his nervous mechanism stopped working. That's why it froze. I mean, it just stopped. It stopped sending the information to the brain, or something stopped from the eyes to the brain. So he just stopped seeing the movement. So I don't know if that you can interpret that he can't, he failed to forget it, or
I mean, I
as
would
he
say
just
that he lost the
froze.
capacity to experience time.
in that moment.
Yes,
But
I mean,
that's true.
in an absolute way. So, you know, for
Yeah.
him, time came to a standstill.
Yes.
yeah,
And I think that is evidence in, I mean, for us to, you know, actually say that, you know, time is virtual in that sense. It's not,
yeah,
it's a measure which can be imposed, which is imposed on something infinite.
agreed. Like, we are limited beings. I mean, our sensing mechanisms, etc., are not exactly like infinite themselves. So our inputs will be limited.
But do you
Or
think
maybe,
the specific duration exists for a moment? Do you think the moments that we experience, do they have a duration?
How does it matter?
No, it
No,
depends on what state you're in.
no, irrespective of what state I am in,
Mhm.
you are in a different state. So even if I can't measure myself, you can measure me.
but they can't. The other person cannot also measure infinity.
Why does one measure?
Yeah, good question.
So, I mean, I don't know why we measure, but I'm just saying that we live inside a measure, right? So we live inside a measure of time.
Yes.
And why do we live inside a measure of time? We don't know.
I think we live inside the measure of time just to approximate things just for survival. I mean, consciousness is such that it is a survival mechanism where we have to sort of make judgments, make assumptions, or at least that's how we have evolved, perhaps.
So we have evolved to survive.
And probably, I mean, I think the goal of life is to perpetuate itself and to survive. So maybe.
Yeah, so if we were able to turn that around, and if you suddenly decided that I don't mind if I don't survive, but I want to feel it like it is. If I think that I want to experience the time without a duration, then what happens?
That's the stuff of poetry, the stuff of our philosophies, and the stuff of religion. The eternal quest.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying that, as a thought experiment, we can jump into that loop.
How do we know that we can experience anything?
So because we already experience things.
What do we call experience?
What do we?
What do we classify as experience?
Why do we specify it as experience?
No, what is it that we classify as experience?
Something that appeals to your senses.
Yeah, so all our senses put together.
Yeah.
How do we know that? I mean, how do we know that we sense? Or I mean to ask, how do we know that we have senses and that we sense and that we are making sense and so on and so forth?
Consciousness, right?
Yeah, we are conscious by default, and we only have memories of when we of time that we have been conscious in. We don't remember the moments before our birth.
Yeah.
We have always been conscious as far as we know. And we have only known consciousness. So we have all, and for us, experience is life. If we
Right.
stop experiencing, we might think that we are dead.
What happens when we sleep?
So our senses are active. Our senses don't go to sleep.
That's when the subconscious is working, right?
Yep.
Right.
I mean, if we choose to believe in a subconscious,
I mean, not belief, right? I mean, even if you just take the neurons are firing, the brain just does show some activity. So
yeah. So there is stuff brewing in the head, like in a dream, So like in a movie, we are watching a movie, but and nothing is actually happening to us because we're just sitting in a dark theater. But we experience everything that the actors on screen experience because so we just simulate that. So stuff like that happens, but
I think we learn to experience. It's not that we are experiencing, we are interpreting the experience. So what we are examining really is the residue and not the experience itself.
Residue of what?
Residue of the
Of
experience.
what happened. Okay,
but
so
where
yeah.
does the residue of experience reside?
In the memory.
Memory, exactly, yeah. No, basically what Aditya is trying to say is experience is a function of memory. You know, if you can't recollect what you experience at some point in time, then you haven't experienced that at all.
But the experience happened. I mean, I'm happy right now. I'm
You're talking of
experiencing
cognition.
No, okay, so the experience happened, but then did you experience it? You don't really know if you don't have the memory of that.
That's if
But
you
it
cognate or not. If you don't cognate, then you will not have a memory. That, or it will not register as.
No, maybe at that point in time you cognated and it was stored, but then you are not able to recollect it. Let's say at the age of 5 or 6, what were you doing at this particular point in time?
Right.
Yeah.
No, but memory is a very cultural way to remember things. Our body experiences things in a way that we don't even know how to think of it as a memory.
That's right.
I think memory is a very psychological way of experiencing things. We suppress certain memories unconsciously so that we could feel secure or feel happy, whatever.
Memory is a documentation.
Memory is a document, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
But
I mean, memories are narratives in that sense. I mean, the documentation, but we don't know how to convert the memory of our muscles, of our skin.
I think the memory is the documentation of the objective event, and the narration happens over the memory, and our recollection is the interpretation which is acting over the memorized.
Yeah.
No, but I would go back to the experience of the moment in which experience is actually playing out. And in that moment, something is happening that I don't even know how to remember. Right?
You do know.
And how can we reject that?
But you do know how to remember, and that's why you're remembering, and that's why you're able to connect these sentences that you're able to.
You are able
But
to,
we're not able to
you know
remember
how to
everything.
remember a memory. You know how to remember a memory, but you don't know how to remember to recall an experience.
Yeah. It's like you have a camera and there is a landscape, and only what you photograph is what you know, right? And there's lots of parts of the landscape that you didn't manage to photograph.
And the details.
But it still exists.
Yeah.
And the experience is what we see, right? So it is actually what we are trying to describe when we ask the question, what do you see?
Yeah, I see now.
And that, yeah, so it comes round, it comes back to the same dilemma, because this is a question that I think we always avoid.
I mean, if we go into politics and humanity, yes, definitely it's a question everybody avoids. I mean, not everybody wants to see, even what limited things we can see, not everybody wants to see it.
Yeah, everyone wants to construct the frame.
Yes.
And not actually see what is there. And so perspective formation is about making that frame, defining that part of experience that I'll hold on to. But
are we constructing these frames consciously?
are we constructing
the frame?
what?
The frames.
Yeah, are we constructing the frames consciously?
Yeah.
I think we are programmed to live with a limited experience. I mean,
Yeah.
it's you can think of people who are insane as people who are experiencing too much, who are understanding too much, right? So
Or not understanding anything.
no, I mean what I'm trying to say is
Everything.
being able to understand more than we know what to do with would just drive us crazy and make it difficult to survive.
Yeah, it's not good for survival of the organism.
Yeah, so you need to draw a frame somewhere just to go on.
But I don't think
Yeah.
there's a problem in the process of understanding, but the problem is in terms of explaining what they understood.
No,
No, I
I
think
think
it's both, right? It's both. I mean, not everybody chooses to see what is in front of them. Not everybody wants to see what is in front of them. Not everybody can see what is in front of them.
Okay. So what are these frames then? Is it an opaque thing that stops us from seeing certain things, or it's on the other side? It stops other people from seeing us, the real self of us.
no, it's a bound. So you draw a boundary, you develop a perspective in which uh, you can selectively see things, and not see things.
Yeah.
No, okay. So my question is, so if we are constructing these frames consciously, then is it to safeguard us, or is it to safeguard the other people who are looking at us?
I
Yeah,
would
I
say
don't think
both.
it's conscious. You were saying something, Satya.
Sorry. I would say it's both. I mean, for survival, we have various strategies, and we choose to see what we want for our own survival. On the other hand, we might obscure ourselves we show others what we want to show.
Okay, I think we choose to see what we want. That's correct. But then we choose to show others what they need to see, not what they want, right?
I mean, okay, like if I am a performer on stage, then people want to see. If I'm an item girl, then they want to see an item girl, so I behave like
But
an item.
that's only because you're allowing them to see that, right?
Yeah, but then I decided this is what they will see. I mean, I might be a neuroscientist, but I want them to see me as an item girl.
Okay, yeah, correct. Yeah. Okay, that's exactly the point that I'm trying to make, right? So you
Yeah.
show this frame to other people, not what they want to see, but what they need to see.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I guess it's like everyone's making their own presentation of perspective. Like, you know, it's like all these Venn diagrams crossing each other.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that when you acknowledge that there is a perspective at all,
Mm-hmm.
you have to acknowledge that
Yeah.
the perspective is of a piece of the world and not of the world itself.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is very crucial to bring it into our common language, even that we don't try and address the whole world at a time, because that is considered commonly as an impossibility. We need to reject that possibility as being within the bounds of something that happens. We just need to make it, consider it impossible.
But is it even possible to have a common language?
I think we operate on the basis of a common language. Culture is nothing but a code of, what we consider cultural evolution is the development of a code of ethics, code of what we commonly consider okay.
I mean, apart from the scripts, there are other common languages. Music is a common language. Love is a common language. What else? Money is a common language.
Yeah, dogs talk a
Yeah, I
common
don't know if
language.
money is a common language. I mean, I don't know this language at all. Music I can understand, and love, yes, I can understand.
I think, okay, love is an abstract thing. Music is still abstract. Some people will like it, not. But I think money is the very tangible, and it's everyone understands that. Okay, I think it's the underlying thing. It's.
No, I wish I did.
No.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think
common
with
language
money,
that
it's the exchange. Yeah, I mean, it's a common language of exchange.
Right.
Exchange
yes,
of
a common
effort, exchange
language
of
that you're
value.
not allowed to speak.
Wait, what is that? Common language of what?
It's a common language that you're not allowed to speak. A language is a condition for something to be a language is that it's open. We don't know of private languages in which it's proprietary to even communicate.
But languages have boundaries, right? So how can you say it's open? Like, let's say, Quakers religion, they have their own language, and we can't communicate in that. And think of Avatar, where people talk in, what is that, Navi. And
I'm saying that language is a pattern, right?
Huh.
And a pattern is something that communicates.
Yes.
So the pattern makes things visible. So if you're calling something a language to begin with, we are saying that a common parlance exists.
Right, it is accessible for those who choose to partake in it.
Yeah, it has a handle.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's a language, because if it's a language, then we all have to be equally rich, and because to talk the language you have to spend money, and if that's not available, then it can't be a language.
So what you're saying is there are common languages available.
No, he's saying money is not a language.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's not a common language, because all of us have not been able to understand it equally.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Fully agreed.
Hey, no. Wait, just because we don't understand Sanskrit or Hindi, that doesn't mean those are not languages, right? Like, and at one point in time, Sanskrit was only reserved to high class people, and also does that mean?
I'm saying that if it's a language, then it needs to be translatable, right? In the sense, we don't know Sanskrit or Hindi, but we can translate. There is a table that exists which can translate Sanskrit to French.
Right, I can translate money into, let's say, clay or a piece of paper which other people would understand.
Yeah, which doesn't have universal value, So if you buy a very expensive car and you take it to an Eskimo, right? Now he will just totally reject the car as an equivalent of money.
to an Eskimo, probably I'll convert it into a polar bear, so that they can eat it. I don't know.
I mean,
So what
I'm
you're
saying
saying,
that,
there is a transaction going on, and this is a language of transaction.
Yeah.
So it is in a way a communication. It is a language. I mean, it's not that one doesn't understand it or not. It's just that it is there. You can choose to understand it or not.
Right. So it's a language, and you can choose
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I see now. Yeah.
no, but no, the notions of equivalence don't exist.
Nowhere notions of equivalence exist, boss.
No, in translating languages,
Mhm.
you know what alphabet, what sound, what word is equal to what.
Yeah, because we both know that, so we think that's equal. What if we talk to someone who don't understand English, and you then teach him, okay, this is what equal to looks like, and this is what A sounds like, and then he'll just take it for granted, right? So that's the same way when we both understand money, we talk in terms of money, and when I talk to someone who don't understand the concept of money, then probably I'll explain it to him in a version that he would understand, and then he speaks the same language too.
Right. So yeah. Right. So money is a language.
Yes, money is a language.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
But we were talking of the need to develop a common language for being able to express realities at a similar scale,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we were talking about how perspectives need to be formed, because we cannot first of all deal with looking at time without a measure, and secondly, if we are even engaging with time without a measure, we can get lost, and we don't want to get lost.
Right. Not everybody wants to get lost.
Okay, that's a better way to put it.
I'm very happy to be lost.
It's not a luxury that's available.
Yeah, that's true. It is a luxury, yes.
True.
So we got into kind of a bit of an aggressive thought, and that was that I was saying that we need the world to think of it as impossible to uh, being able to consider that their experience of the world is equal to the world itself. And I wonder why would the world agree to reject this very convenient apparatus, So yeah, there is all this stuff going on, but I can just have these guys believe that only this is going on, so that they feel motivated to do stuff for me.
Exactly, yeah. And that's why you build narratives to show some people you have to do this for me.
Yeah, so if we had to say one thing to the world to try and convince it that let's we let you keep the power, but you let us keep the infinity, what would we say if there's one thing that we have to say? Raja, what would we say? You're here, Raja? Can you hear me?
He just muted.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Wait, can you repeat the question again? What would you say to someone who says,
what would you say to the world
the world, okay,
to stop imposing the idea of limited time, of limited, of time with a measure, and allow us to experience infinity? So in the sense, we are telling the world that you keep your power, but you give
give
us
us the
our infinity back. So come to a mutual decision to not measure time and still make the world function, would that happen? Would there be anything to say? Would there be any one thing to say?
I think if you tell the world that there is profit in letting everybody experience infinity, then they'll do
Oh,
it.
the language of money.
The language of money. So Sam, what would be a deal that you could cut?
Now I'll say, let's all have psychedelic mushroom shakes and experience infinity once, so that people should experience both ends, right? They should experience infinity at one point, and no, they should experience infinity and the limited time, which is the real world, how it's functioning now.
Yeah, I mean,
Only
so
then
everyone
people
already
can choose one or
experiences
the other.
measured time.
What is that?
I mean, everybody already experiences measured time.
Exactly. So they should experience infinity. For that, they should come with us to Dharamshala or to Kodaikanal and have these things, and then let them choose.
No, but psychedelic culture, the downside of psychedelic culture
Mhm.
is that you cannot separate it from the source. So you cannot enshrine Pink Floyd into a department of philosophy, because you can just say, oh, they were high.
No, all I'm saying is we should give them, there should be a reference point. Otherwise, why would they choose one thing or the other, right?
They don't even know. So
Exactly.
So we have to manage to we have to figure out a way of opening a
Get everyone high,
spa.
right?
Infinity spa.
Infinity Spa, yeah, exactly. So that Infinity Spa will basically be pumping out Malana creams.
No, so if it's not a substance that can, if it's not a drug.
Okay, if it's not a drug, then it's basically what? Like, how will you make someone experience infinity without using psychedelic drugs? That's what you
Right,
mean.
because that doesn't help us to use psychedelic substances, because then we are not able to negotiate with the world. The
Okay,
world.
so have you experienced infinity without being high?
So why does it have to do with what I have experienced personally?
No, I'm just asking. So if you have experience, then there is a clear path, right?
No, so then yeah. So if I want to, because we are in a surfacial talk show, so we have to answer questions, right? We have to be immediate, right? So I have experienced infinity without drugs, right?
How?
I guess
Just
through
by
art, for
be-
example. I mean, if you
yeah.
if you perform the perfect jazz solo, like if I sang the highest note that I could, or there are moments when you really feel like holy shit, right? Without any drugs.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's
being
very
able to
subjective.
write,
Right? It could be
being able
different
to
things for
write
different.
is a beautiful process.
Yeah. And I mean, it might be for someone else where they're standing on top of a mountain, or
Yeah.
maybe they made the perfect trade of all their stocks or something.
Yeah, and Sam, if
Yeah,
you say that art is a privilege in a similar way, that not everyone can access or experience what art offers equally, and so I would accept that. But I think at the other pole, you also have the experience of infinity within doing nothing.
Oh, I
That,
got it. Okay, so I don't know. I'm not sure if you're getting to this. Okay, so in order to experience infinity, we should get lost in a particular point in time.
yeah.
Yeah, we get lost in an act as an act.
Yeah, it could be anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, living on the moment will help you experience infinity. Correct?
Right.
Yeah, if you live, if I mean, that's the tough nut to crack, because if you can hold your mind for long enough to not be distracted out of the experience of each moment.
But Sam, being lost in a particular moment in time also involves time.
But you forget time,
but-
right? Like,
No,
Yeah.
but
It's not
when
measured
I-
time.
So let's say if I'm lost in a moment and I have created an experience for myself within myself, which is of a moment, then that experience is also happening over. I mean, it's a passage. So my experiencing or my I mean that passage of the moments of that larger moment is over some measurable thing, and that's time. So time is involved in any kind of experiencing.
Yeah, correct. So then how do you define infinity?
Yeah. What is infinity in time, in terms of time?
Without time. We know
Yeah,
what's
without
infinity.
time. I mean,
Yeah.
no. I mean, Aditya is saying that representative time is inevitable,
Correct, exactly, yeah.
and I don't think so.
Okay, so
Aditya?
yeah, no, so I don't remember looking at a watch in my dream ever.
Yeah, so
So
I mean, in dreams we are in infinity. You are right.
right, so I think if we all, yeah, go ahead.
But if you are in a lucid dream, then probably you could see time.
No, like
or
last night I
if
was.
you're dreaming a dream where you are late for your exam, then you are seeing time.
Yeah. No, but the dream itself can go on forever.
Right.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, it's possible that we can just die in a dream, then we'll never even find out.
Yeah, like this
Right.
one.
But then, we can't, in our spa, in our infinity spa, we can't conduce dreams. We can't, essentially, inception is not a known, it's not been known yet.
How is it not known?
I mean, I don't know how to make you dream.
So
Yeah.
when
It's
you
not
I
guaranteed
think
that
it's known, but then it's not codified. People couldn't communicate in a way that we would understand.
No, but how would you make someone dream? You can make someone sleep,
right.
but how can you make someone dream?
No, no. When you make the conscious self sleep, then that's sleep. But when you make the subconscious sleep, with the conscious self awake, then it becomes a dream, right?
I think it's very easy to make anyone dream. Just give them a bad experience or a good experience or some kind of an experience which leaves an impact. It's almost quite certain that it will reflect in their dream somehow. So in a way
No, you
you
can,
have.
Then
that's the
what is
thing.
the
So you
difference
can
between
go
a
through
dream and a
trauma.
recollection?
I couldn't get anything.
Yeah, sorry. Go on, Prayas.
No, I'm just saying we can go through extreme trauma and still sleep perfectly. I mean,
Yeah.
so basically, sleeping without dreams is deep sleep.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's possible. I mean that you don't dream, but you're still sleeping.
Or probably you dreamt, but you don't remember that. So you haven't experienced your dream yet.
I mean, both are equally probable, but I think when you dream but you don't remember, and when you didn't dream, I think we can feel the difference. I mean, I think. I mean, I wake up tired or I wake up. I think I always dream each night. I mean, I've never woken up fresh.
Oh, no,
I dream every night, I think.
when would it be fresh? When would you call it fresh?
I mean, I don't even know what it means to be fresh.
I think that's
just,
one thing that should be in the infinity spa, then have people, somehow they feel fresh, then they feel like they've had a good time. That's one way to convince them that infinity exists.
Wait, I'm sorry, what is that?
At the infinity spa, going back to the infinity spa, it's like if you get people there and make them feel fresh at the end of a good night's sleep, then it's a good experience, so they feel like infinity is a good thing.
But guaranteeing good dreams is impossible.
I think you used to freeze the sleeping experience. So if you're dreaming or if you're not dreaming, if you can just freeze it.
Cryogenics.
Just freeze it. Just hold on to it. I think if the spa did that for people, if the spa just helped people to hold on to wherever they are when they're sleeping. So essentially, we kill everyone, So no one goes back alive from a spa because you die. When you hold on to your unconscious moment, you just die.
In a way, if you have experienced infinity, it is a kind of death, because coming back to normality becomes like coming back to a place you don't want to be anymore, maybe.
Yeah, I think experiencing.
How can you equate it to death? Because what if someone has gone to hell? Then obviously they would want to come back to the real world.
If you're saying infinity is hell.
Infinity is the impossible, or infinity is the escape. Infinity is the
right
terminal velocity in that sense. So it's. We've always had this. The only escape out of the cycle of misery, the way Buddha called it, has been thought to be the experience of infinity.
Right.
And I don't know if we are allowed to bring it back from the church. The world of organized religion back into the room of philosophy. I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
Are you saying bringing the experience of infinity into a structure?
Yeah, I don't know if there is any cultural symbol or any linguistic mechanism of talking about experiencing infinity in a so-called secular way.
Agreed. Yeah.
Do you think infinity? Two things. Do you think infinity can be experienced, and if at all it can be experienced, do you think it can be conveyed by a symbol, or through a language, or through any kind of a sign? If it is infinity, then it is beyond the scope of beyond the scope of transmission.
Representation.
So,
It's beyond the scope of representation.
right. So it cannot be captured by anything because it is infinite.
Right, and which is what they have said in the Vedas, right? It's like, or not just the Vedas, anybody, any religious or spiritual has said that infinity, or the experience of whatever that infinity is, cannot be captured.
Yes, so then we're back to, we're back to the first step. We're back to square one in that sense, that we are looking at something that we cannot describe.
Yeah. Cannot describe fully well.
We're looking at the abstract.
No, so having a perspective which is a default state in this cultural existence, having a perspective doesn't allow us to experience infinity.
Yeah,
I kind of agree with that, yeah, because it comes in the way. I mean, maybe you actually can, but then you're telling yourself this is how it should be, so you miss it.
But this experience is all that we are entitled to. Why do we want anything more than what we are given?
Yeah, because
I think,
I mean, if we understand basically that what we perceive of the world and the world is not the same, then it's reasonable to understand that there will be a desire to see what is there.
But I think what we define as the world is also limited, and when we say that we there is a difference between what we perceive and what is, I think there cannot be a situation where there is no difference, because in interpretation itself there is the limitation of discounting everything else that is not in the current perspectives, and that's why one of the other ways to attempt to reach at infinity is to hold many perspectives, is to view from as many points.
right.
Yeah, but that's not, I mean, that's not possible as far as I would model a perspective. I don't think it's possible to have multiple or hold multiple perspectives, as you say.
And not holding them together at the same moment of interpretation, but just the ability to juggle with all of them.
Yeah, I
And
don't think you can manage to escape what you have.
Correct. And
but
so
you can
why not?
train yourself. You can train your, like, it's like walk in somebody else's shoes. Like, what does it feel like to be a blind person, or what does it feel like to be of a certain race or something? It's like, what is their experience like? Can I theoretically think about it?
But that will always be fiction, right? I mean, I can't even
Agreed.
approach the actuality.
But you are pushing yourself still. I mean, you have a framework which is like this, but you are pushing yourself to adopt another framework which might give you a different insight.
But what we are adopting and what is not the same.
Agreed. I see that.
So, I mean, I understand that it's an approximation as best as we can have it,
Yeah.
but it's not the same. And I think we have, reached a point in time where we have accepted the unspoken fact that every representation has noise embedded in it.
Definitely.
And at this point, we are many of us even are able to fight for our perspectives. We are able to actually think that our perspectives are absolute and truly representative of the world.
I think most people are, well, I don't know most people, but yes, that's common. Yeah. I mean, that's human, right? Like humans would do that to make sense of the world.
Yeah, that's what culture has that's how culture has constructed the idea of the human
Yeah.
as the human who is an individual and who is not the infinite.
Or maybe it is that culture has identified the human to be the limit, as as in the interpretation of the humanity as a limitation, and that's why we've all come to realize that we are all limited, and together it is only together that we can discover infinity, because infinity has to be a sum of each unit of limitation.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's what we were talking about yesterday. Yeah, so infinity is more than the sum of all the limitations, right?
Right.
It's
So the
not
minimum that it
equal to the
requires.
sum.
So the minimum that it requires is the sum.
Yeah, but the sum doesn't help us because it's still more.
You mean the sum is more or less?
I mean, infinity is always more than the sum, so the sum doesn't help because infinity is always more.
But we don't know what the sum would be like.
So like even the number Google is not the end of numbers, right? It's still a measure because you can never count all the numbers.
Which number did you mention?
Google, I mean, one with 100 zeros.
Okay. Yeah, right. We will always manufacture limits because we are limited. I mean, we can only. I mean, any definition, any interpretation is only the. I mean, an attempt to reach somewhere, but falls short of somewhere. And I mean that somewhere is. I mean, one of the
So
somewheres is infinity.
Aditya, Satya, Raja, Manju. So we have to we'll conclude the session here today.
Okay.
We have taken more than the hour, a few minutes more than the hour we had initially asked for. So
Okay.
tomorrow tomorrow the question in front of us is why do we see what we see, and which will go on from here.
Okay.
Okay.
And Satya, I know that you haven't signed up for tomorrow, but if you have time, it will be great to have you
Certainly,
back.
I'd be happy to. I wanted to say thank you so much for organizing. This is really, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. So.
Yeah, thanks. No, we've just wanted to have this room in which we can talk about things in an unstated way, in which we can have an open conjecture.
Yeah, it's rare to have those spaces, so this is good.
Yeah, yes. So I will, this video, when the video gets posted on YouTube, I'll send you a link, each of you, so that you have this document too, and thank you for being here.
Okay,
Bye.
sounds great. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.